Go. Okay, Dr. Mindy Pell's here, and this is the first ever episode or interview of the Reset Factor podcast. And I brought some of my favorite people here to get a great conversation going about the New Year's and what we're going to do to help people set New Year's goals and get their health focused and moving in a positive direction. So why don't we start here? Katie, Chris, why don't we do ladies first? Why don't you explain a little bit about what you do, what your specialty is, and then we're going to move right into the topic of how to succeed at a New Year's resolution. So Katie, tell us about yourself and what you do.
Well, my name is Katie Peuvrelle, and I'm a high performance coach, and I help high performers do their best by being their best. I work with everyone from executives to stressed out teens, and I help my clients and the groups, everybody that I reach, to walk a path with clarity and compassion and commitment.
That's awesome. Awesome. And give me like a spectrum of the clients that you work with. You said teens, you work with athletes.
I work with pro athletes, all different levels of athletes, anybody who wants to perform at their best, but who wants to do it in a way that they're actually being their best. So it's not just about the competition. It's not just about the performance. It's about being healthy and well and giving your best performance from the deepest part of yourself.
Okay.
So they're executives, CEOs of Silicon Valley companies, entrepreneurs, teens, yes, athletes, people on stage, writers, anybody who's performing, who's doing and wants to do at a certain level of authenticity and excellence.
Cool. And before I get to you, Chris, I texted you this question, Katie, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like your favorite topic, 1 being your least favorite topic. Where does New Year's resolution sit for you?
Yeah, it's interesting that you sent me that text because, I kind of, when I think of New Year's resolutions, I go, I think of them as something that are probably not very effective and very much sort of in the mainstream. And I think that we can do so much more with how we achieve our goals. And that's why we're here. So that's why I enjoy talking about them. So it's probably up there 9 or 10 because I actually will be talking about how to see them differently.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, Chris, tell us about yourself.
So I run a business called My Core Balance, and we help people achieve their fitness goals while minimizing the chance of injury. So we do that through posture alignment, posture correction, muscle balance, making sure your core is strong, and incremental progression, figuring out where you are, not having these high grand schemes like I should be way up here. It's just, nope, find where you are. Take it one step at a time. It's very sensible, very strategic, step-by-step fitness program.
You know what was interesting to me when I saw your studio is how little equipment you have.
Definitely.
Because that was a study that came out a long time ago. Well, not even a long time ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, about resistance training and how body weight resistance is really the best way to create functional strength. So,
sure.
Yeah. And what the type of person you work with is probably the same as Katie.
So for sure, yeah, there's a big range. I mean, my youngest client right now is 13. My oldest is in his early 80s.
Oh, wow.
Typically, though, my clients are 40s, 50s. The way I describe them is they have a lot to lose if they get injured, right? A 45-year-old executive at a company or business owner can't afford a back injury that's going to set them back for 6 weeks, right? Yeah. So it's got to be very streamlined, very strategic, biggest bang for your buck, very, very practical. It's going to get you the results without killing you, without being sore for a week,
Yeah, I have a good friend whose neighbor is like a marathon runner, and he was walking out of his house one day and he was like limping. And she goes, oh my God, this guy is like, and again, in his 40s and really, high stress, high powered job. She's like, he works out all the time and he cannot walk.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, he limps like that all the time. That is not that's not just because he recently hurt himself. His body was like breaking down from doing the wrong type of exercise.
Yeah. And a lot of people get kind of addicted to the process of whatever they're going through. I work out much differently now than I did when I started when I was about 16. And I know people who are in their 30s and 40s who are they're addicted to like this tunnel vision. It's like, it has to be this way.
Yeah.
I just finished a workout right before this call, and it was only 20 minutes. The heaviest weight I picked up was only 15 pounds, and it was very slow, very controlled. And it's more about what result do I want to achieve. I want to be able to pick up my kids, be able to play with them, have them jump on me, and without a back spasm, right? So it's all about that practical, real life. What is this going to do for me in my day-to-day life?
Yeah. Someday I'm going to bring you on and we're going to talk posture, because I have this thing about, you see these older people that are hunched over like this, and it's like the weight of gravity just pulled them down. And there's so much you can do to prevent that. It's crazy.
Oh, definitely. So. Yeah.
Okay. And on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being your favorite thing to talk about, 1 being not, how do you feel about New Year's resolutions?
It's actually pretty high. It's pretty high up on my list, because I feel like I'm talking about New Year's resolutions all the time. Like every Monday is a new week resolution. Every 6 a.m. is a new day resolution. So I think it's pretty cool, actually, that we have this kind of culture where almost everybody feels like, even if they don't set a resolution, it's at least a good idea. And I know you mentioned the statistic, which I think you're going to bring that up later, but the amount of people who fail at a New Year's resolution is crazy. But I love talking about it, because I think, again, my approach to fitness is like, I don't want to be working out for 2 hours a day. It's really a lot easier than people think, and that's what I'm talking about. So I would say it's like a 9 or a 10, definitely.
Okay, awesome. So my favorite thing to do this time of year, I just did this yesterday in my office, where I just asked people, like, so what's your health goal for the new year? Do you make New Year's resolutions? And I would say this is, with patients of mine that are actively working on their health, but most people laugh when I say it. Like they go, oh yeah, no, I don't do that anymore. And so then I rephrased it yesterday, and I said, okay, so tell me, what direction do you feel your health is moving? Do you feel like you're going forward? Do you feel like you're going backward? Do you feel like you're standing still? And that really got to the root of the issue for people. The people that were moving backward really, they were able to reach out, and I could kind of say, hey, you know what, there's a lot that you can do. The people I had, of course, because, I'm working on people's health. A lot of people were like, I feel like I'm just got to keep doing what I'm doing, which is great. But it's like almost become like a dirty word. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting to me. So yeah. So, okay, here is the article I found. This is what I want to start this conversation with. Okay, so 92% of the people are going to fail at their New Year's resolutions. So, and they say usually by February, the first week in February, everybody will be back to their old habits. So only 8% of the people are going to succeed. And there are 5 things that people want to achieve with their New Year's resolutions. What do you think the most common thing people are going to set a New Year's resolution for?
Weight loss.
Yes. Okay. So 22% want to lose weight. Okay. The second one is 18%. You're going to like this, Chris, of the people want to get fit. The next one is 12% want to eat healthy food. So, which is really interesting, because that's kind of the work that I'm doing, is trying to go in and get people to eat healthy so they can get fit and they can lose weight. It's like, but people start with that. Yeah, they start with that thing. Okay, the 4th thing is save money. And the 5th is they want to manage stress. Those are the top 5 things that people go after. Okay, now, why people don't succeed at this, according to this article, and I actually did some research, and there's some interesting articles on Huffington Post and New York Times, but they said that there are 4 things why people fail. So the first is that they're not passionate enough. So they just don't care enough about their goal. They think it, and gosh, do I see this all the time in my practice, because I deal with a lot of people, really sick people. And I always say, this sounds horrible, but I always say that you really should walk the life next to somebody who's had cancer, and you will see what health motivation looks like. It's insane. When somebody's life is on the line like that, they really get motivated. So they said that the reason people fail is that they're not passionate enough. they're not specific enough with their goals. And I'm kind of curious from your point, Katie, what you think of that, because I know you do a lot of goal setting with your clients. They don't have a plan, and the fourth is that they didn't budget for it. So, Katie, let's start with you. What do you think of those 4 obstacles? Do you agree? Would you add different things in? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think those obstacles are pretty clear. If we focus on weight loss as sort of an area to think about more clearly, what comes to me is in terms of they're not passionate enough. I think that people really need to know their why. That they need to understand why they want to lose weight, and to not just focus on the numbers, but to also focus on how they want to feel, and to get super, super clear on how their life will be different. Because I think that becomes an obstacle, is that people aren't clear on the why. And if they can get to a place where they can actually feel how their life will be different, visualize it, feel it, sense it, then everything starts to move more easily. So that can bring up more passion, because they can always refer back to what they want as opposed to what they don't want, right? They're not specific enough.
Can I ask you one question on that? Because I sit with a lot of people who want to start feeling better. And what can you do if you've never felt better? What if you've been sick or you've been overweight for a long time? Is there a way you can invoke that?
There is, and it's a really great question, because that's the first thing I ask people is, can you imagine what it feels like to feel well? You know, sometimes I work with people in chronic pain, and so the first order of business is really to help them begin to believe that it's possible to feel differently about pain, to feel that it's possible to have less pain. And I think sometimes why resolutions fail is that we go to absolutes. You know, either I have to lose 20 pounds or I failed. It's either or, as opposed to, well, maybe I can lose some weight, or I can shift my mindset around it. So so coming back to your question about if you haven't felt well, or you perceive that you haven't felt well, is there a time when you felt better than you do now? So that you want to move the needle towards improvement, the needle towards what you want and how you want to feel, towards feeling better, because then that gives them hope. Yeah. So, it's that either or, looking to the absolute, that can actually create more discouragement than encouragement.
Okay. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I'm so excited for this conversation, because I want to learn too. And I see that. I sit with people who are like, I would like to look like a supermodel, or I'd like to have a certain weight, but that's so out of my realm of understanding. Right. It's hard for me to think about. Right. Okay. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm looking at the list here, and my wheels are spinning about other things I could share. And in terms of the not specific enough, I think that maybe that goes in line though with sort of the either or. I have to lose 20 pounds. And yes, for certain people, having a really specific metric can help you go there. But maybe it's not just specific, but it's also realistic. So if you have again, that comes back to, I want to feel better, or I want to lose some weight, or I want to feel like I'm not gaining weight. I mean, even what you don't want is okay sometimes. But bring about some sort of change so that they're not as stuck. And again, no plan. I mean, you have to have a plan. A plan's super important. And someone to help you implement the plan. And didn't budget for it. Yeah, that's an interesting obstacle. Definitely. But then I think that sort of opens up a whole thing around mindset and money. That's maybe a different conversation.
Yeah. That's another podcast.
That's another podcast or two.
My message to people, if you watch any of my Facebook Lives, is like, your body, your mind is a miracle. And there's so much, is like what Chris just said. He just did a 20-minute workout. There's so much you can do to access the miracle in your body. You don't always need fancy supplements. You don't always need, a fancy piece of workout equipment. Sometimes you just got to access what your body already has.
And your mind.
It's
the power of your mind, your thoughts and your mind. I mean, really, you have everything you need already inside of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Chris, I love it.
Real quick on those fancy supplements, those are for people who already are, done with the 80%. They're already eating right. They're already drinking enough water. They're already exercising. And then they want to take it to the next level. So any beginners listening, don't worry about supplements yet, unless you're working with somebody like Mindy who's, recommending a specific protocol. but don't get fancy. That's the one thing I would say about that.
Yeah. So Chris, I did a Facebook Live on this yesterday on how to detox. And my number one rule to detox is stop toxifying yourself. It's that simple. Just stop putting the toxins in. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Your body.
No budget needed for that.
Right. Yeah. That saves money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, okay, Chris. So tell me what you think of those 4 things.
Okay. So I didn't write them down, but the last was the budget one, right? Didn't budget for it.
Yeah.
I think just like what Katie said, like you can join a gym for $10 a month, or you can just go on YouTube and follow along with videos and then go on a walk. I mean, again, it doesn't have to be this big elaborate thing. You know, I would love it if everyone worked with me as a trainer. You don't have to hire a trainer. You can, obviously that's going to help because they're going to hold your hand and like put you into your goal and they know what to do to get you there, but you don't have to. I listen to Tony Robbins a lot, and he was talking to this one lady, and this lady's like, oh, I'm going to start my new diet next week after I find the perfect trainer and this and that and this.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, all you have to do is like get on a treadmill and have someone yell, run! So, I mean, it doesn't have to be fancy. That's one thing I would say to people. Don't let finding the perfect plan throw you off. Like, just do something fun. There's also a million ways to lose weight. You know, you can join Zumba. It doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be lifting weights and doing cardio. It can be all kinds of things. And then the thing I would say actually, in addition to that, losing weight by fitness is it's all right. It works. Losing weight by not adding that garbage into your system, and then maybe even just adding a simple green drink, like in a blender, simple vegetable drink. We all know we need our vegetables. So getting those every day in just a liquid form is nice and easy, quick for people. And just doing that alone you can shed some serious weight. What were the other?
Yeah, to add on to that, there are specific foods that are natural detoxifiers, like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. Cilantro will actually bind to heavy metals. So I'm such a fan of people like take the garbage out and then let's look at what nature's already given us, because there's so many cool things. You just I've talked about this before, like sauerkraut for your gut. Like you may not love it, but your body does. So why wouldn't you add it in? So I totally agree with you on that.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. The other 2 were not passionate enough and not specific enough.
The specific one is interesting because sometimes, like what you were talking about, Katie, if you've never gone through a fitness program, and you might get very specific as far as like, oh, I want to lose this much weight, but you don't know how long that will take. And so, specific enough, I do agree with, and at the same time, I disagree with, because I think there needs to be some wiggle room. You need to set your specific goal. And then again, like you were saying, February is when people quit. You set your goal and you set reassessment points. You say, this is my goal for the whole year.
Yep.
And after 4 weeks or so, I'm going to reassess, because this is still my goal over here, but I'm going to reassess at the end of January. And I'm going to say, am I going in the right direction to reach my goal? And then in that way, you take these little steps. And so it's almost like, it's like driving to New York from LA. You're not going to be headed straight at New York the whole time. You're going to be going north, you're going to be going south, you're going to be going northeast, all these directions. If you start going back to the west, that's when you know you're in trouble. But if you're generally going the right direction, you're going to zigzag your way to your health goal.
What do you think of the scale as a good measurement of success for weight loss?
It can be. I think number 1 measure of success is how you feel, and number 2 is body fat percentage. If weight loss is your goal, right? But the scale can be good if you're on point with everything. If your nutrition is good, if your fitness is good, then I think the scale can be a good tool just to check in every now and then. As long as you're not like, oh my gosh, how much am I going to weigh? How much? You're going into it like, all right, let's just take an assessment. Let's just see where I am. And you use it as a tool to adjust if you need to, okay, well, obviously I haven't lost any weight. I need to change something. Instead of, oh, woe is me, I'm hopeless. They're two very different reactions. And Katie, this is your expertise. Like, do you see something that happens to you as a problem and you're going to give up, or is it fuel to light your fire to continue to move on?
Yeah. Depends on the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So Katie, you and I have talked about this. I'm personally, and I don't know if this is a woman thing or not, but my scale, its battery ran out about 5 years ago. And I decided that I would stop measuring my day based off of that scale. And I found that each number had a different emotional response for me. So if I weighed a specific number, I would have this memory of, oh yeah, that's how much I weighed in college. Or if I had another number, I'd be like, oh, that was when I was my heaviest. And I just decided I just wanted to stop judging myself like that. And when the battery ran out, I was like, okay, I got rid of it. And it was really freeing. And I think feeling right, how your clothes fit. In my practice, we use little ketone readers so people can see blood sugar. I think all of that is just, you got it. It's a mind game, right, Katie? Like, you got to get yourself out of that old pattern, because it'll just set it all the way up for failure. It's like why I actually think the best time for a New Year's resolution is this week, the week before the New Year's. Because you'll break the pattern. You'll set a whole different pattern.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had some thoughts on the scale too. It's interesting. I think that, high performers, and both of you guys are high performers, and you've got a lot of energy and excitement about life, that we thrive on metrics, on some kind of measurement. And their numbers are everywhere, whether it's a question of, Chris, you're lifting only 15 pounds and you're doing it more mindfully, or maybe on another day you're lifting super heavy weights. But there's a metric, there's a measurement, there's a way outside of your, there's something quantitative about it that helps, whether it's a scale for one person, whether it's a ketone blood sugar reader for Mindy, whether it's a number of weight, that I think there is really value to that. I know for myself, I stopped weighing myself a long time ago, and recently I started again because I wanted to be able to have a positive association with the scale. Because coming from being a figure skater where it was all very much about how much you weighed, I wanted to move beyond it and to not be attached to not using it. So different experience for me. So like, oh, okay, I can use the reader, or I can use a scale, or I can see how my pants fit, or I can see how my body feels when I move, to kind of play with what are some of the other numeric, like quantitative ways of measuring, as well as qualitative, how I feel. And sort of explore those other ways of getting in touch with if I'm doing something differently and if it's working. Basically, it's all about measuring, okay, am I moving the direction I want to go? Am I moving back west again, or am I still going east? Or am I going in a trajectory towards health? Or am I changing things back in a way that doesn't feel self-supportive?
And I totally hear you on that. And what do you do in that moment if you get on the scale and you're like, nah, I don't like that number. And then the negative, I mean, you've got a lot of tools, but what about for the average, public, the brain starts going, oh, I'm not succeeding at this. Like when I coach people nutritionally, when I sit down and they're bummed, I look at them and I go, are you getting on your scale? And they go, and they're like, yeah, I know you told me not to. I'm like, seriously, I want you to put that scale in the closet at least for a month or two until I can get your body burning fat. Exactly. Then we can bring that thing back out.
Yeah.
And I think, again, you come back to how are you going to measure it? For most people, really, for whomever, it may not be the right tool. Right. So like in part of her plan, or his plan, was to not use the scale. And then if the mindset starts trickling in and you hear that self-talk or association with old things, that's when you really want to flip the switch in your mind towards, okay, it is only a number, and I could weigh myself in 2 hours and it may be different. It's constantly changing, because when we see that number, we think that it's like set in stone. And if it's not a number you like, suddenly that's the way it's always going to be. But if you tell yourself, okay, this is changeable too. Everything is changeable. I mean, it takes mental strength, yes, and it's doable. It's like lifting those weights. Okay, today I'm going to lift a little bit more of that. All right, I'm not going to depend on the weight on the scale. I'm not going to even measure myself at all. I'm just going to stay the course. I'm going to follow the plan. I'm going to show up and work out, or I'm going to eat differently, or I'm going to be good to myself. So I don't know if that's helpful.
And surely you've got a mantra. I mean, like I used to say cancel when a thought like would hit my brain I didn't like. Surely you've got, is there something somebody could do? Like I know we're kind of off on the scale
Yeah, I mean that's just so much, right? That's worth another podcast too. You know, mental training is, you know, recognizing the self-talk, because the thought leads to the emotional state, which then affects how you do what you do. And there's so much you can do with the thoughts that you have, because they do affect how you feel. And depending on how self-destructive they are, depending on how attached they are to the past and negative experiences, sometimes there's some inner work to be done to clearing that up. But you can, I mean, in a very simple way, I know you talk about this a lot, Mindy, too, which is gratitude. Sometimes just not even going to the inner war of bad thought, good thought, I'm bad, I'm good, just kind of throw all that out the window and just go, what am I grateful for? Oh my gosh, it's a beautiful day. What am I grateful for? I'm here with my family. What am I grateful for? I have a healthy enough body that I can walk out the door and I can take a walk. And if you spend at least 60 seconds just thinking thoughts of gratitude, it changes. It actually develops some serotonin. It just shifts your mood. It's all about shifting your mood and shifting your state. Because I think we can get into the inner war of I shouldn't have a bad thought, I should have a good thought. And then it's just more anxiety and more tension and more resistance.
Good. Yeah.
I think that's good. That's a good point, Katie. And there's a distinction I would make between an input and an output. So the input are those things that you can control. Like I went to the gym today. I ate right today. I went to bed on time. I drank enough water. Excuse me. Versus the output of how much do I weigh? What's my body fat? Blah, 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 all that other stuff. And that's why a few minutes ago I meant that, you know, once you're doing everything perfectly, the way that you feel like will optimize your health, your program, then if you want, maybe weigh yourself or do the body fat percentage, because at that point, you're going to see how effective it was or wasn't. Again, I would say like do it for a month or so. And, you know, because if you're not like Mindy, you're people who are getting to the point where they're burning fat. If you're not there yet, though, why would you weigh yourself? Because you haven't even
right.
Exactly.
It's torture. That's my point. Is like you're just torturing yourself.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Totally. I love that input versus output. That's awesome.
Right.
So just before I move on, tell me what you find about Chris about people not being passionate enough. That was because I really resonated with that one when I read these four. That was the one that I was like, yep, if you don't want it bad enough, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the problem with weight goals or superficial goals that are more like body fat percentage and things like that. For example, like I'm actually trying to gain weight this year. Last year I gained 10 pounds and this year I'm aiming to gain another 7 pounds. And I'm solid. And that's been my goal for about 5 years. I didn't make any headway on that goal until I realized that the reason I want to gain that weight is because I'm going to do more online things. And fortunately or unfortunately, just human nature, we form snapshot opinions. And so if you see someone that has more muscle, you think, oh, they know what they're doing, even though I've known what I've been doing, you know, for a lot of years, but I was smaller. So that corresponds to my business, and the business growth corresponds to providing for my family. So I have a very tight connection from me gaining muscle mass to providing for my family. So I get a reminder every day when I'm playing with my kids how important it is for me to accomplish this goal. So I would say that importance of the goal and not being motivated enough doesn't mean that you're a slacker or that you're lazy. It just means that maybe it's too superficial for who you are. So go deeper. And I go big, especially, you know, in my podcast, I talk about go big, like the biggest you can go. You're going to die one day. Live this life for how amazing it is, and then chunk it down from there. And then you get to this 20-minute workout, and that little 20-minute workout becomes so valuable because it fits into this bigger picture and it's deep and it feeds your soul as opposed to just like, hey, look at my muscles, you know, that kind of.
Right. Oh my God, I love that. My brain's like got a ton of thoughts on this. So, I always say that my family comes from make lemonade out of lemons. And I recently had, like a couple of years ago, I was taking a mindset course, and the guy said, sometimes you have to really think about what is bothering you so badly that if it hurts enough today, it becomes like a boomerang that you just pull the tension back and boom, it'll propel you forward. So it really made me look at some things in my life that, I was really not 100% excited about, but I had been putting this glossy cover over it because I was making lemonade. And I realized when I actually sat in the pain of it, it really was motivating. Mm-hmm. So I love that, attaching it to family. And I think sometimes these are the moments you got to look at yourself if it's weight loss, and just, do you look in the mirror and have negative talk all the time? Like, does it hold you back in relationships? Or do you show up at parties and you're not as enthusiastic because of it? You feel worse about yourself. I mean, when you really boil it down to this core belief that it's holding you back from an amazing life, I think that can be motivating onto itself.
Totally. Absolutely.
So, and then to go back to something else you said, Chris, it's got my brain going, is that we forget when it comes to health, we think it's a solo journey. We think it's like our only, like it just affects us. But guess what? My friend who had cancer and is no longer with us, that actually had a really big impact on her family. Mm-hmm. So we have a right, in my personal opinion, and again, then we're gonna change the subject. But in my personal opinion, you owe it to the people you love to show up as your best.
Yeah, you bet.
Because it raises everybody up. When you show up as your best, then they're going to show up as their best, and then everybody's enjoying life to the fullest.
Yeah.
So, okay,
beautiful.
there's my soapbox.
Love it.
So what I had asked both you guys, and again, I'm really curious to hear your answer, and we'll start with you, Katie, is if I was sitting down with you one-on-one in a consultation, and I said, okay, Katie, I want to lose weight this year, and it's January 1. What 3 things, and I like to step things out because I think we can get ADD when it comes to our health goals. So I really want to kind of step it out. What 3 things would you tell people? Okay, here are 3 things you need to look at. And some of them you may have already talked about, but I would just curious in like a consultation setting, where would you tell people to launch from if they had a weight loss desire for New Year's?
Yeah, well, the first thing I always do is I ask questions, really launch into questions before we do, so that there's more awareness and there's more certainty and commitment to and that passion to where it is that they want to go. So the first question I pretty much ask is what do you want? Yeah. And how will you know when you have it? And what keeps you from getting there? So you're looking at what you want in a quantitative way. What do you want in a qualitative way? So like, what's the number? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to, again, we come to the metrics. Is it a body fat thing? Is it I want to feel, that's a qualitative. I want to be able to participate in an Ironman, or I want to do the walk for breast cancer, or, something that's measurable that they'll know when they get there. And then again, what do you want in terms of how do you want your life to be different? Mm-hmm. And it is important to first start with like, what's the current pain point? How bad is it now? Like you were saying, Mindy, what is it keeping you from in your life? And how do you want that to be different? And then then from there you can develop some goals, basically, or even intentions.
Okay.
And when it comes to New Year's resolutions, I also, as a sidebar, I like to come up with an annual theme of sort of more of a highly chunked up or overarching concept that you can, like your North Star for the year, that you can always come back to, weight loss or weight management or weight gain or body health or body image. Yeah. That's something that's just a subset of it. That's just one example of sort of this overall thing. Like, it can be that your annual theme can be freedom, or your annual theme can be peace of mind. And when you really look at what all of these changes will bring you, then that's when you get to that motivation. So those questions: what do you want? Why do you want it? Basically, what's keeping you from being there? And how will you know when you're there? So again, to come to that image of, okay, I imagine myself easily picking up my kids and playing with them. Or imagine myself at Christmas dinner in a year, eating in a healthy way and feeling really peaceful about how I'm choosing to eat and the choices I'm making. And maybe people have been to my house and I've prepared food that I know is healthy for everybody. To get a little bit more specific around the moments in time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then one action step that I like people to do is to write an as if now statement. Okay. So if we're talking about annual thing, okay, it's December 31st, 2018, and here is my day. And this is what I do. This is how I feel. This is how I'm thinking. These are the things this is what has happened in the past year that has brought me to this point. And you write about and describe vignettes of that particular day, because then your higher self and your unconscious mind is kind of driving towards those. So actually writing out an as if now statement for December 31st, 2018 is one thing you can do, right?
And do you believe in like reading the statement every day? And should it be like one statement, or what does that look like on a regular basis?
You can read it every day if you want. I think, basically once you've written it out and once you've gotten clear on it, it does lock into your unconscious mind, particularly if you visualize it. I think that you can have it somewhere where you can see it visually, but I have people write it out sort of to empty out. So it doesn't have to be succinct. It needs to be just very heartfelt and very thorough. So everything they can think of. And then from that, they can pull out, and I do it kind of differently with each person, obviously.
Right. Yeah. No.
Three specific things.
I've learned that about you. You don't want it you don't want to be put in a box.
Well, yeah, because I think that we limit ourselves when we go in boxes, and you can have there's the possibility thinking. So like you come from your as of now statement, and then maybe you can pull out 3 specific statements that you want to say to yourself, and you can write those out. I am healthy. I am committed. I am compassionate with myself. And those can be anything that's I am blank. And you write those out, and then you can have those on your mirror in your bathroom. You can have them on your refrigerator. You can have them in your car, places where you see them regularly. Mm-hmm. And the thing about affirmations is you need to feel like you're not pushing against them, you're not resisting them, that you can really get behind them, and that you can really move forward with them, and they feel true and right for you.
Yep. Yeah.
That's 2 things. So then, and again, each day I would say focus on what you want. And, what is it that I want, as opposed to what you don't want. Mm-hmm. Although knowing what you don't want can be a huge motivator, and the biggest motivational strategy is a combination of going away from what you really, really, really don't want and going towards what you do want, right? We know that. But each day, just make a commitment to focusing on what you want and staying in gratitude. And even a gratitude journal or a gratitude writing in the morning and the evening is a good practice as well.
And so what do you do when you've got the focus on the first week, but now we're in the 3rd week?
Yep.
And the results aren't coming fast enough.
Yeah.
And my focus is waning, and I'm not really sure. Do you have any tricks for that moment?
Well, I think you have to come back to realistic goals. Okay, results aren't coming fast enough. Did you set goals? I mean, did you really look at, are you realistic in terms of, are these goals things that can happen at the pace that you want? Or do you need to kind of step back and, like Chris says, do a reassessment? Okay, have I set goals that are too aggressive? And know that your body has got its own intelligence, and it's going to find its way through this weight loss or this weight gain or this health reset. And and have some self-compassion and some patience, and maybe dial back the goals, because smaller successes are more powerful than time-based urgency and things having to be done in a certain period of time. But for certain people who want those results quickly, that's something that, if you get the quick results, they don't always last.
Yeah.
And there's a mindset shift. I'm all about mindset. The mindset shift is towards recognizing, well, what have I accomplished? Where have I had successes? You write down those successes and you build on those.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a ton of thoughts on that. And that, I think boredom is a big thing. And then boredom leads to you have, again, that old thought pattern comes in.
Exactly.
So one thing that I'm always telling people is like, keep mixing it up. I'm sure you do that
Changing
too, Chris.
it. Yeah.
Keep changing it. Like my 45-day reset and the reset factor, it's like 15 days of a detox. Then it's 30 days of a different habit reset. And if you keep mixing it up, then you don't, 90 days go by and you're like, whoa, I didn't even realize that I was actually on a health path that's working.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So,
definitely.
Yeah. So, that was awesome. Go ahead.
Yeah. And also, like you said, keep focusing on what is working, and make what's working bigger as opposed to what's not working smaller.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the time when you have to really dip into the strength of your mind and know and believe that, okay, I have made these changes. Maybe the numbers haven't changed, but I have made these changes.
Yeah.
My clothes feel different. Or, oh my gosh, I walked 5 miles instead of 3. And it might seem sort of like simplistic or too easy. But that's where, when you're losing weight, you're talking about a lifestyle change. You're talking about the rest of your life. And I think that's where people get stuck in, okay, New Year's resolution. It has to be, got to reach that goal. But then they get to the end goal and they go, okay, well, now what? I've reached the goal. And that's when they slide back. Right. And the way to do it differently is to be conscious and mindful about the incremental successes along the way. And that's the mental retraining that needs to happen for it to be a lifestyle shift.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, like this could be like a 3-hour podcast because I have so many thoughts on that. Like, exactly. You're absolutely right that people, because I do a lot of detoxing with people. So people get to the end of a detox and then I watch people fall backwards. Well, I had a woman who did our 15-day detox. She did it 5 times in a year. And what she did is she did the detox, then she fell back into her old habits. Mm-hmm. And then she did the detox, and then she fell back into her old habits. And at the end of the year, she had lost 40 pounds.
Wow. Yeah. So, she still lost 40 pounds.
Yeah, she still lost 40 pounds.
And that's what you focus on.
Yeah. She fell off, she got back on. She fell off, she got back on. And over time, the body responded. So,
because, that's what humans do. We get on, we fall off. We get on, we fall off. We get up. That's the journey.
Yeah.
And I think that's the acceptance to come to, is that it's not failure. It's just being human.
Yep.
And if you look at the end result at the end of the year, 40 pounds is phenomenal.
Right. She was ecstatic. So, the
mindset shift.
Yeah. It's awesome.
If you look at everything that I ate over the holidays, you would look at it and go, this is not what a healthy person eats. And I went into it knowing that I was going to eat all that garbage in moderation and not feel guilty about it. But like you said, it's that bigger picture. It's like fall down, expect it. It's going to happen, and just get right back up. And do you guys remember that song in the 90s? I get knocked down, but I get up again.
That's great.
That's the fitness song.
It's a health song, right? Yeah.
So, okay, Chris, so what are your 3? I'm sitting down with you. It's January 1. I'm like, I don't like where I am with my health and I want to get fit. That was number 2, right? I want to get fit. What 3 things would you recommend?
You want to get fit. So I would say, commit to the process. And again, like have a flexible goal, have a goal that where you want to get to, but you're not exactly sure the path that it's going to take. So have that idea in your mind, be willing to change approaches to get there, but keep the goal front and center. So that's one, get very clear on your goal. And then I would set up just a simple diet and exercise checklist in your mind, or you can do it on paper. And again, rewarding yourself for doing the things, not necessarily for getting there. So the one for diet, this is a simple thing that you can do. In a blender, you get a few cups of water, lemon, cucumber, spinach, and avocado. And you can swap out other vegetables if you like those better. Do that, just blend it up, drink it once a day.
Yep.
That alone has helped people in my studio lose tons of weight. Like I had one client who was coming in for 4 years, lost 30 pounds in 4 years. She lost most of it at the beginning, but she kept for months and months and months. She was saying, I have 10 more pounds I need to lose. And I said, have you done the green drink yet? Well, no, not yet. And then January 1st rolls around and she decides, okay, this is the year I'm going to do the green drink. She does it. And that month she lost the 10 pounds. And she was like, I can't believe it. Why didn't you tell me this? Oh, wait, you did tell me.
Can I comment on that real quick, Chris? Yeah. I mean, that I would say doing a green drink, the best way I can describe it is that it shrink wraps your body.
Amen.
It's like you go shrink wrap. Like the inflammation goes down, the muscles start to come out, and it's like,
And if you put a little sauerkraut in it, it'll be even better.
Right?
Can't say that
chaser.
Tasting in the world, like you said, loves it. All kinds of stuff. And then anything that Dr. Oz or anyone, Dr. Mindy, anybody says, like, this is the new thing, this is healthy for you, it reduces inflammation, throw that in the green drink.
Yep.
And you can hide all kinds of stuff in that green drink. But if that becomes a daily habit, regardless of what your goal is, lose weight, gain weight, get fit, whatever it is, you need to eat your veggies. And the best way to do it is, I think, to drink them. It's convenient, it's quick. So that's one. And then again, keeping tabs on, it's just a checkbox. Like Katie, you and I check the freaking box. Just check the box. Check the box. And then on the other side, the workouts, starting with the muscle balance, core, posture, getting that set. I call it core and cardio at the same time.
I like that. I like that.
Corny, but whatever. Cardio, core at the same time, bear crawls and stuff like that, body weight. But for a super beginner, like it can be as simple as going on YouTube and typing in like body weight only 20-minute workout. You'll find 10,000 of them, right? And then just do something and then check the box. I did it. Quick neighborhood walk. But create a scoring system where you're not rewarding yourself for getting closer to the goal. You're rewarding yourself for behavior.
Right.
And
I like that a lot.
The first month of a fitness program anyway, like you're talking about somebody getting bored after 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, I'm still trying to get into my program, and I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm still, after the first 3 weeks, I'm like, I need to hit 5 days in a row doing my protocol. My protocol is this on Monday, this on Tuesday, this on Wednesday, and a green drink every day, and I have my meals all set. If I can hit 5 days in a row within the first month, that's a success. So little things like that, and then that builds on itself, because really what you want to establish the first 3 to 6 months even is habits. Even a whole year, like this is the year of good habits. I just want to be able to build up good habits. And then, people really underestimate or overestimate, I don't know, I guess it would be underestimate how long a goal actually takes.
Right.
Like I said, I'm trying to gain 10 pounds this year. I'm like 50-50 as to whether or not that's even possible in an entire year, because it takes a lot to gain like an ounce of muscle. Imagine that, like you go to the store and you get the pound of like ground beef. That's a lot of flesh, to add. And same thing the other way, like a pound of fat is even bigger, a pound of fat might be like this big. That's a lot that your body has to say, all right, we don't need this, or we burn it off and figure it out. It takes time. So, have you tried,
now you got my brain going. Have you tried intermittent fasting?
I have, yeah. I do it occasionally. And And yeah, anytime I feel like I just bogged down my system with too much stuff, I'll go until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon without eating, just naturally. And
there's and I'll send you the link, but there's 2 bodybuilders on they have a YouTube channel, and they're all about intermittent fasting for building muscle, because it improves growth hormone by like 1,300%. Like, my understanding is there's only 2 ways to improve growth hormone. One is intermittent fasting, and the second is through like a HIIT training kind of situation where your heart rate goes up and down. So these guys have tapped into both of those and can build muscle really quickly.
Very cool.
Yeah. So but you got to do it intermittent fasting every day. It's not that's how you get that continuous growth hormone going.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to see how to add that into your formula. So, and you know what, the check boxes is super cool, because I think it's overwhelming to say, you know, I want to add 25 pounds of muscle to my body. But if you create steps and checks, then you really see that you're progressing. I do that all the time with people. When people come in with really bad health, I'm like, okay, some people only have like 3 steps they have to do, and some people have 25. And we're just going to go step, and then we're going to go the next step and the next step. We're not going to try to turn the body around in 1 month. We're just going to step this out so that 6 months from now, you're like, whoa, like I love this body.
Yeah. And like you said, if the only thing you do at first is just to stop the decline, that's right there.
Yeah.
Go a little bit right here, and then we can say, okay, well, you stopped the decline. Great. Now let's take one little step forward, and you're still closer to your goal that you were yesterday. So
I love that. The other thing that I thought about when you were talking and Katie was talking is I hate the term lose weight, because whatever you lose, you find.
Exactly.
So, right? So we should
weight release.
Yeah, we should say something like that.
Let's find something new.
I know.
Shrink wrap. I like that, Katie. Shrink wrap everything.
Shrink
wrap. Yeah.
Shrink wrap your body. I love it.
And you know what's coming to me as we're talking is that I think we're all talking about finding a structure. You know, that because the boredom comes from not feeling like there's enough structure, or the overwhelm feels like there's not enough structure. So creating some structure, a scaffolding, you know, that you can work with, and step by step, you do a few steps, and then, okay, where are we? Okay, let's add a few steps. But that scaffolding that gives people a structure and something they can grab onto that's specific and they can move towards.
Love it.
So maybe I think that's what we're all doing, is we're helping our clients and the people we work with, is what is that structure that everybody can work with and move towards, and celebrate the wins along the way, because before you know it, you've got so many wins that you're feeling amazing.
Right. Yeah. And then it's a lifestyle. I mean, that's what I think that I see with the work that you guys do, and what I'm trying to get across in my nutritional and detox work is like, you just, after a while, this feels so good. This body feels so good. You just don't ever want to stop. Like, there's nothing. My favorite Tony Robbins quote is, "Nothing tastes as good as healthy feels."
Exactly.
And it's like, I feel that, like, when you click into a vibrant feeling in your body, there is nothing on this planet that makes me want to go back to feeling not that.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's awesome. So, okay, I have a couple other questions before we end this. Support system. So my top 3, if you ask me, if somebody was sitting with me and wanted to lose weight, I would basically say, you need to look at weight loss as a toxic issue. So you gain fat, your body stores toxins in fat. So look at the extra weight as this is a toxic issue. This is not a calorie issue. Like with the scale, I'd like to throw the calories out the window too.
Yeah.
So it's like nobody even knows, like, your calorie intake, Katie, and your calorie intake, Chris, are totally separate. Like, nobody knows. We don't have any science behind that. So anyways, I could go on that forever. Yeah. The second thing is, I'm a huge fan of fasting, because the research right now is showing us that what I do is I take people's eating window and I change it. So I say, okay, instead of eating 6 meals a day from 5 in the morning all the way till 9 o'clock at night. How about we compress your eating window? And so that your body's fasting and your body's feasting, it's eating. And that has like, oh my God, that has dramatically changed people from who are sugar cravers and are hungry all the time, that all of a sudden they're not hungry. I know you had a little bit of that experience, Katie, with the changing your eating window, where your just hunger goes away.
Oh yeah, it's really phenomenal. Just the intermittent fasting, and what I wanted to speak to a little bit, I know Mindy and you and I've talked about this, is for me, I reframe the fasting window as, I love
it. I forgot it.
Yes, it's my body regeneration time.
Yeah.
And to me, that feels like really supportive of my health and of my body. It's loving my body. Right. Yep. And then when it's time to eat, it's like, okay, I'm fueling my body now.
Yep.
And it feels structured, and it feels like, it feels specific. I know what I'm doing. And there's a joy. It's like, oh my God.
I get to eat. I should eat right now. Yeah.
After all these years of low fat, I'm like, oh, I get to have fat. It's my brain loves it. It's opening up. Yeah, I want more of that.
Yeah.
So that's it's a really great way to be self-supportive of your body.
Yeah. Years ago, people never believe this, but years ago, when I was in my 20s, I carried about 30 extra pounds. And I know. And then I went, when I was in chiropractic school, I had this aha moment that we have this intelligence in our body, and it will tell me when I should eat, when I shouldn't eat. And when I reframed that, I don't need to eat to feed my emotions. I don't need to eat because I'm bored. I should maybe wait for my body to tell me when to eat. I instantly lost the 30 pounds. I didn't do anything different other than tap into my own like innate sense of when I should eat and not eat. So it's really
your body's natural intelligence.
Yeah.
Right? You just really honor your body's intelligence. Like,
That's
okay, body, you take over. You know what to do.
That's right. Yeah. So anyway, that's what the fasting does for me too, is that I can take that mindset and be like, oh, I'm supposed to eat right now. It's my fueling time, and it's excitement and it's joy, and there's no judgment. I love it. It's like, it's so liberating.
Right?
Yeah.
It is.
So, and then but here was my third thing. So look at weight loss as toxins accumulating. So do a detox, start fasting, and then get a tribe of people, get a group of people, get a coach, get people that support you. That when I sit down with a patient, honestly, that is the last question that I ask them before we kind of part ways and I create a plan for them, is I say, tell me about your support system, because that support system can break you or it can help you fly. So I'm curious from both of you how you've seen support work and advice you would have on that.
Yeah, in the health psychology realm, one of the things that we know to be true, that the greatest indicator of success in behavioral change is what we call social support. Yeah. So, when you create a system of social support around you, you're going to be the most successful in changing your behavior. Yep. And that's just proven. We know that. So there's huge value in creating that support.
Yeah, totally agree. What about you, Chris? What have you noticed if somebody's like going at it alone versus and I think really importantly, like how do we, I get a lot of women that say, my husband, he wants me to cook food the other way that we used to make, and they just have to make their own meals.
Right. Making your own meals is tough. It's definitely something that I've done before. Less and less as I am getting the rest of the family involved in the healthy eating. But, a couple things came to mind. One, Zig Ziglar used to say that share your goals with anybody who would be supportive. Share your, basically if you feel even a little bit like they'll say, oh yeah, but just like, don't even talk to that person about anything, health, whatever your health goal is. Surround yourself with people who know it's possible, who have that vision for you, that faith. And because basically what we're doing is you have to have the faith that something other than what exists now is possible.
Yep.
So surrounding yourself with other people like that is key. And I think now with the internet, it's easier than ever.
Yep.
Find a Facebook page, go to meetups, different things like that. You might have to meet new people. It doesn't mean you have to completely get rid of your old friends or family, but just don't talk to them about it. It's kind of the analogy of if a bunch of crabs are in a sand hole, I guess if one crab tries to get out, another crab will pull them down. So, you gotta reach up for someone who's already outside of that sand hole.
Yep.
Have them support you to come out, and you're actually better able to help those people who are still down in that sand hole because now you're out and you can help them up.
Yep.
But blind leading the blind thing.
Yep.
And I think that takes getting clarity and maybe having some sense of what your own blind spots are. And when you work through those blind spots, then you know that you're going to be the one that can help the other crabs out of the hole.
Yep.
That's potentially a recipe for disaster because neither one of you knows what to do. And if one of you just is like, I'm going to skip the workout today, the other one doesn't necessarily have enough pull. Like, no, we got to do this workout today.
Right.
So having somebody that's been there, and again, it doesn't have to be like your best friend or your mom or your spouse. It can be someone you barely know who you're just talking to on Facebook. I mean, it can be that easy. But yeah, I agree. It's essential until you get yourself to the point where you're the leader. So this is one distinction, right? Is that be okay with being a follower. Follow people who have achieved health, and there will be a point where you can kind of click over and become that leader. And everything that those other people do that is eating bad food and poor lifestyle choices and things like that, once you're a leader and you're good in your own health, that's not going to affect you. But until that happens, don't share your stuff with them, right?
Yep. Oh my God. Again, like I could just talk to you guys forever because Chris, I say that all the time to people when I sit down with them. I always say that I am not giving you a fancy treatment plan. I am like getting a master's degree in your health, and I'm going to teach you how to do your health, and I'm going to teach it what it means for you. And then what's going to happen naturally is you're going to turn around and teach the people around you.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right where the supports, the people I have a patient right now who her husband was so against her making changes. Her family laughed at her whenever they would all get together. She's dropped 40 pounds. Her energies is through the roof. Her mental clarity is great. She has no pain. And now all those people that were like criticizing her, they're all asking her if she will coach them and teach them how to do it.
They came around.
They came around. It was like such a victory story.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Right.
So that's all it takes is that one person, yourself, to know that it's possible, get the support, and then other people around you. It's like, they're basically saying like, yeah, we love you, but, we'll believe it when we see it, right?
Right.
Then boom, she showed them, and then now they're basically her clients.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing, and I don't know if you see this, Katie, is that what I try to encourage my patients to understand is that if you're making a positive change in your life, and I'm your best friend, and I know I need to make a positive change, but I don't have the strength, then it's really easy. It's like a mirror for my negativity, and it's like it's like human nature to want to bring you down because if you succeed, it makes my negative feeling even worse.
Right, and it challenges just the dynamic. Yeah. I mean, you've had a habit of dynamic in terms of how you relate. So when the one person makes the change, the other person is like, whoa, we've been doing this way for a long time. And suddenly, where'd you go? Yeah. And so there's all kinds of stuff that goes on for them until they realize that the person's not going away. They're just taking care of themselves.
Right.
And you can still have a relationship, but you just need to sort of move to where they are a little bit.
Yeah. And if you look at, I'm making a positive change, it's mirroring the imbalances or the negativity in this person. Maybe they're lashing out at me. Maybe I could have compassion for them. Maybe I could understand that they're lashing out and trying to pull me down because they're hurting. And I think if you can approach it that way, you can see like, oh, let me stay on my course. This isn't about me. They're not lashing out at me. They're hurting inside of them.
And it's not personal.
That's totally not personal. Yep.
I did my podcast episode yesterday about that exact thing. A guy cut me off in traffic, and you know, when I was a teenager, if I was a teenager, I'd be like, but I just kind of slowed down, and he was like flipping people off left and right. I'm like, whoa, he's really upset having to do this, and you know, it's not about me. It's just like, you know, and
let it go. Yep.
With those friends, they will put on to you as you're going through your health journey whatever insecurities that they have about their health. And you know, sometimes maybe take a 6-month friend break from that particular friend. And instead of them seeing you climb, they're going to see you up here and they're going to say, whoa, what'd you do? They can't argue at all. They can't bring you back down because like, well, you're already there. So, all right. Hey, can you help me? Or you know.
And if you show up with compassion, they're going to feel like they can ask you questions. So yeah, I've done that before where I've had to take friend breaks. Like, it's just time. This isn't work. This isn't moving me to a higher place. I need to get myself centered, get myself grounded, and then I can come back to the friendship. And I it's a hard place to be, but I think it's, when it comes to health, it's really important to look at.
And it can actually be in service of the friendship. I mean, you out of compassion, you can actually say, okay, because I value this friendship, I'm going to do this for myself. And I know that the friend break is actually a way that the friendship could be even stronger later.
Yep. Yeah. Super cool. Okay. Well, I could talk to you guys forever. I love this. And we're going to do more, we're going to do more podcasts like this and more discussions. Before I close down, Katie, tell me, how do people find you? I know you have a book on Amazon.
I do.
You're on LinkedIn. If people want to learn more about what you're doing, how do they find you?
Yep. I'm on LinkedIn, and I have a book called Leap, Own Your Excellence and Engage Your Best Self in Business, Sports, the Arts, and Life. And it's really sort of a summary of the key mental training principles that I use in my practice. Drills down, gives you some nuggets and some client stories to kind of illustrate them. And also my website is it's KatiePeuvrelle.com. Peuvrelle.
And
unpronounceable French last name.
Well, only to French people. If you speak French, you can do it. But I will put the link to both of you guys when I post this on YouTube. I'll put the link in there so that people can reach you. Okay, Chris, I know you got a lot. You've got several podcasts. You're all over the place. You're on Facebook. How do we find you?
I have 2 podcasts, which actually get put onto YouTube and Facebook as well. So the Inspired Life podcast and Ask Trainer Chris podcast. My main website, though, is my business website, mycorebalance.com.
Awesome. Okay, well, you guys are awesome. I literally could just keep this conversation going. It's what I love about what we do is that we all approach our craft with a very similar style and a similar mindset, but yet we're doing totally different things, but having similar benefits. It's really cool.
An amazing balance.
Yeah.
I mean, it just creates this wonderful composite of what we bring to the table. It's exciting.
Yeah, I always say that, people really need a multi-therapeutic approach to heal. There's not one magic thing. There's a lot of magic things. And if you put them all together, you create a magic life, you create a magic body. So.
Yeah, beautiful. Love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for setting this up, for getting us together.
Of course. Okay, cheers to a good new year.
Yes. All right, you guys too.
Thank you guys.
Happy New Year. Thanks. Bye.